Okay, so after looking at some magic gods in general and knowing about the self-sacrifice and how they're able to actually become magic gods, not just simply mastering magic or whatever, and then yeah, you're good now, right? No, like there's some people like Alistair who just simply did not become one, just stay like a human or stayed in a human type of form. And yeah, here I am now with Othinus, right? A whole character analysis of her. So yeah, let's just see a good 15 minutes too. Yeah, this should be a good video. Tell me all about her. You know, I've seen her plenty of times, especially even before I even started looking at these explaining videos. Just seeing her in fan animations and AMVs. But here we go. We're getting right into it. And yeah, if you guys are interested, yes, I'm looking at someone's request and they gave me 4 videos. So I'm gonna look at those 4 videos in order. And after this, I think I got New Testament 9, and then after that, New Testament 10 that I'll look at, and then that should be it. But for now, let's just see what she is all about. Hope you guys will enjoy this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and yeah, let's just get this reaction started.
What's up guys, it's Aeon of Horus here, back with another video. Today, we're going to talk about Othinus from
Othinus, okay.
Index New Testament from the light novel. I know I haven't made a recent video geared towards fans of the light novel, so I decided I would do that today. And what better way to do it than talking about the magic god of war herself, Othinus. Now, as you already can expect from this video,
spoiler alert.
Huge
Okay.
From the Index light novels,
Yeah.
Specifically New Testament.
Just a simple mistake.
If you don't watch the anime, this video ain't gonna be for you. Unless you love spoilers, then you're welcome to stay, I guess.
I mean, I don't love them, but I just know
Othinus is
I need to understand her, that's
the
all.
first 9 volumes of New Testament as the shadowy leader of the Norse magic cabal known as Gremlin. But after being saved by Toma in New Testament 10, she takes a supporting role as Toma's understander and aids Toma with her vast knowledge of magic. Guess Toma doesn't need Index anymore, right guys? Oh yeah, and she also shrunk to 15 centimeters tall.
Yeah, that's why she's on the shoulder.
Powered by a domestic cat. How the mighty have fallen. Let's start at the very beginning. What defines Othinus as a character? She wants to restore her life and world to the best that she can remember. But unfortunately, she cannot achieve this goal despite the massive power she has from being a magic god. But deep down in the core of Othinus as a character, what she wants is quite simple. To be understood. To have that one genuine
that's it?
human relationship.
Oh,
So
she got that right.
and that person will understand her desperation to restore her world to the way it was. Countless years ago, Othinus was once human, but via mastering magic and performing a ritual sacrificing her right eye, she became a magic god. She was blessed with extraordinary amounts of power. She could manipulate and create phases, layers of reality that could
Layers of reality, okay.
In essence, she could control anything she desired.
I was trying to figure that out from some other videos
Othinus
making.
created countless phases. Why? Because she could. Imagine if you were given the power of a god, just like in the film Bruce Almighty. You can solve any problem you have. So why not use and even abuse that power? Well, because even that has its consequences. Othinus caused so much change in her universe that a nostalgia to return to that old world had taken over her. But since she couldn't remember every single little detail
Yeah, you
of the original
can't
world,
do all
and
that.
to replicate it using her ability to warp reality, she could not restore her old world in exactly the way it was. A magic god can create more layers of reality in the universe, but they can't remove them.
Yeah, they can't
They
remove.
can't press the undo button. They can only add more layers of paint to the canvas. They can't take those layers away. So, despite Othinus' seemingly incredible power, she suffered as a result, as she could not restore her old world, and each world she created in desperation only gave her more pain and self-loathing. It just shows you that having absolute power doesn't necessarily make you happy, as it can change your life in such an incomprehensible way.
And it gets tiring after a
Othinus
while.
did not realise how fortunate she was to live in her original world until it was too late. The power of a magic god corrupted the world around her, as everything in the universe was influenced by her will and power. It truly makes you think, what is the meaning of life if you can do anything you desire? I kind of touched upon these concepts in my Othinus arc video, but I'll reiterate some of them here. As a magic god, there is nothing to work towards or strive for. You've already achieved your goal of mastering magic, well, then what? Once you have created your idealized world, there is nothing to do in life. It becomes stagnant, which was why the true gremlin gods simply just hanged around in a different dimension, fighting amongst each other just to relieve boredom. If you can do absolutely anything you want in life, then what is there actually to do? Of course, Othinus still hadn't done everything she wanted, as she still had that goal of wanting to restore her world, but if anything, it was a desire to return to normality rather than the artificial corruption she had caused upon the world. But since she had the power to warp reality, why didn't she just make a world identical to the original one she lived in? Because she knew that it would just be a fake version of it, no matter how similar it may be. There would be no free agents, as they would all just be manipulated by Othinus to act in a specific way, rather than using their own free will to make decisions. It would be nothing more than a toy world for Othinus, with her as the puppet master. Othinus realised there was no value in the phases she created.
So she still has some type of reasoning, and it's like,
as a true magic god,
yeah, she didn't want them to just be controlled by her.
Influence. Othinus's desperation, however, did not go away. She needed a lifeline, one bit of hope to restore what she knew was the real world, her world. An opportunity presented itself in the form of a Magic Breaker, a spiritual item in the form of a right hand that acts as a reference point to the original world, perhaps the pure world that existed before the phases, which would make sense why Alistair needed it for his plans. Othinus sees it as her best chance and her last resort to restoring her own world, as Imagine Breaker also represents the hopes and dreams of magicians. So Othinus forms Gremlin, restores her power as a magic god via the completion of Gungnir, and changes the phase once again with Kamijo Toma in the palm of her hand. Othinus decides that killing Toma, then taking Imagine Breaker, would be a problem, as if he died, then it would simply go to someone else at an unknown point in time.
You don't want that happening.
She decides to break him mentally by creating countless phases manufactured for the purpose of crushing Toma's will to live. This will trap Imagine Breaker in the helpless boy for her taking. That's the excuse she gives, but honestly, I don't believe Othinus is telling the truth here, as what's stopping her from simply cutting it off and crushing what's inside like she did at Baggage City? Deep down, Othinus wanted someone to understand her. By tormenting Toma through the countless phases, Toma was experiencing somewhat what Othinus once experienced when she was creating the phases countless years ago. Unable to return to his original world and having to live with artificially created realities where life has little meaning. Toma was the most convenient person at the time to be chosen by Othinus to be subjugated to the phases, as he had Imagine Breaker. As Othinus
and
no one could understand what she went through,
a good soul,
being unable to return to her reality,
being kind and all,
she decided to inflict that pain on another to simply see how they would handle it. I know it's a very selfish and messed up thing to do, but put yourself in Othinus' shoes, being unable to return to the world you love and hating yourself for it. It's unsurprising that Othinus would do this with little remorse initially, as she is so far removed from what we and Toma perceive as reality. Reality being the world of Toaru that we have experienced thus far in the story. The interesting thing is, the Omega phase we see in New Testament 9 is comparable to the world before New Testament 9 in the eyes of Othinus. Everything around her is fake, and as a magic god, she can influence anything around her. So she has little remorse for the suffering she inflicts on others and the world, because it's not genuine in her eyes. And reality has somewhat become part of her toolkit, She doesn't care about this reality, so she's willing to control and manipulate it like everything in it is her tool. That's why she doesn't care what she does to Toma, as it's just all an experiment to her. Will Toma crack mentally in the same way that she did? Is he simply a fake puppet in the palm of her hand? Or does he have the capacity to freely decide and fight for what he wants, even if it is hopeless in the end? Othinus pushes Toma over the edge as he attempts to take his own life. But after being convinced by the will of the Mystical Network that his life and world are worth fighting for, he challenges a god despite having no chance of victory. He now has a selfish desire to trample upon world peace and the happiness of 6 billion people. This is where Othinus starts to realise inside that Toma is more than just a human, who Othinus always seemed to look down upon before, always referring to people as humans, acting all arrogant, etc. But if anything, Othinus is still a human trapped in a god's body.
That's all it is.
Has human flaws, personality, and qualities. And Toma is truly just a person too. Someone with a mind, with ambitions, dreams, and flaws. Toma has become just like Othinus in this moment, but from a different angle. He has become selfish, and wants to return to his original world like Othinus, and cares little about how others perceive him. Othinus is motivated by desperation, but Toma is motivated by the change in himself from only thinking about others to wanting to achieve his own dream. Toma accepted that returning to his original world may be impossible, but regardless, he will try to destroy the world Othinus has created to rebuild the relationships around him. So Othinus and Toma are very similar in this moment, both wanting to return to their own worlds and fighting for themselves as individuals. Toma accepting there is no hope for restoring his world but fighting anyway, and Othinus clinging desperately onto her last chance in the form of a Imagine Breaker. Othinus kills and revives Toma
over and over and
until
over
he
again.
seemingly has had enough of fighting and destroys most of his body, and she takes Imagine Breaker for herself. While Toma admits to Othinus that he knew he had no chance of winning and accepted his fate of not being able to return to his world, he wanted to reach Othinus with his words, as that was his only chance of changing fate. Toma tells Othinus to restore her world, as he understands what she has been through, and believes she has the right to want to go back to her original world, even if no one in the world will be able to sympathise with what she went through. Then Othinus realises that Toma is speaking some big facts. No one understood Othinus prior to this. Even the members of Gremlin didn't, as they were concerned about their own dreams and not anyone else's. If Othinus returned to her original world, Toma wouldn't exist. She would lose that one person who didn't blame her for what happened, and knew what it was like to be trapped in an artificial world. But Toma's original world was genuine to him, just like how Othinus's original world was to her. And in Toma's world, she would at least have one person who understood her, and Toma would have that one person who understood him. Everyone would see Toma as someone who destroyed world peace by not accepting the Omega phase, as Toma could not keep quiet about what happened to him. Othinus had to be there for him, and after the pain and suffering she had caused Toma out of the pure selfishness of her heart, Othinus clicked and did the most unselfish thing she could do in that moment. She restored Toma's world, and then Toma decided he would protect and save Othinus, who was now dying from the fairy spell, even if it meant
just keep her safe. Well, I mean, that's what he's doing now anyways.
She had given him back
He got her on his shoulder and all.
good, and Othinus was willing to sacrifice herself for it. During the events of New Testament 10, Othinus is consumed with guilt by Toma's actions, the extent he is willing to go to in order to protect her from others, which is why in the final fight of New Testament 10, Othinus fights Toma one last time, as she does not want him to save her from death. She doesn't deserve it. After the torment she inflicted upon Toma and others, how could she deserve a happy ending? Toma, however, defeats Othinus this time, and Othinus is saved from death and turns into a fairy. Othinus continues to be Toma's ally in this form and refers to herself as his understander. Othinus is one of the best characters in the series due to her complex morals, her character dynamic with Toma.
Yeah, the story is just there.
Her character explores fascinating themes such as the consequences of having a significant amount of power and how desperation and selfishness can turn you into a bad person. While Othinus was a god, she was ultimately a completely flawed person underneath that godlike persona. She still had human vulnerabilities underneath, in a similar way that Toma had flaws underneath his hero complex, and Nis had vulnerabilities and burdens as exposed in the phases that Othinus created. That's why the bond between Othinus and Toma is so powerful and remains one of the most interesting character dynamics in the entire franchise. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more Toaru content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
That is it for this one here. Okay. Yeah, that's something right there. Explored their story and all, and yeah, I mean, just both of them going through a lot right now, like really trying to understand each other at the same time. Like, yeah, she's trying to have someone understand her, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, they're probably going through their own self thinking like, okay, am I really doing the right thing? Or, you know, could I have gone about this a different way? So really just, you know, helping each other out and then themselves at the same time. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I can see why she's one of the best. Yeah, the story just gets deep. And yeah, after finally getting that relief, yeah, now with Toma. And oh yeah, I was gonna say something here, but I just waited. But yeah, I like how his hands, yeah, it's kind of all scratched up and all, showing all that work that he's done so far. And look at this, what he's achieved after all of that work. But that is it. That is it for this good 15-minute video. You really had to get through on that. Okay. Oh yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. if you guys could, this is the well, not only, well, I'm gonna just say this is the magic side, right? Yeah, I think he had a video and he was talking about magic in like one image, and he showed this, and another was science, showing, you know, the people that we've known from science. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, just so I can understand these sides, because it's usually the girl with the, was it white hair, well, basically the dark skin one, right? I see her a lot with basically nothing under that. Yeah, just nothing but the jean, right? Jean clothes and pretty much nothing under that. But so I see her quite a lot, as you can see. Yeah, there she goes right there at the bottom. But yeah, that should be it. And yeah, that's yeah, like you can see there's still some sort of like human inside of her, like that emotion, her that reasoning and all, like being like, you know, if it was her, she wouldn't want to just be under someone's control after, yeah, like, yeah, the world is back and all, but you know, now you're kind of like under someone else's order. Like, don't you want to have your own free will? So of course that aspect stayed the same with her, kind of like, you know, even if she was guilty of many things, it's just like, yeah, she just couldn't come to that, you know, that's just too much at that point. Even if she could easily make as many original worlds as she could and just change it up to her liking, just, yeah, that's something else. And also the whole thing with like being a god and then being able to do whatever you want now, it's like that goes into villains as well. Like when I see a villain, I'm trying to see you have something like revolutionary, like something different. You know, it's always world domination or something, but I mean, what do you do then, right? You know, you've taken over the world, and it's like, yeah, you have whatever you want. You can get as much food as you want, as much money, unless you really are in it just for the fun of it. But it's like after a few years pass, you got to get bored of that, you know. So it's sometimes with villains, and I don't mean Toaru villains or Fate or nothing, but just sometimes I'm like, okay, what is there, you know, what are you gonna do now? You know, you've gotten this, you've gotten that, and it's like, what now? You know, But yeah, there are some villains that could be similar to Othinus, just trying to be understood, and have a deep story to them. But I mean, I don't mean like exactly everything. I'm just talking about the being understood. They just want to be understood. It could be villains like that, but you have a real deep story to them. That's all. I don't mind the world domination for some villains, but it's just sometimes I'll be looking for something different. Like, yeah, what is something different that you can do right now that I have not seen from any other villain, But other than that, I'm going to just end it off here. Hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you like, subscribe again, and I'll just see you guys in the next one.